Yes, people, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of a review for Drive to Survive Season 6. Now we are talking Episode 6, Leap of Faith, as it's titled, and it's all to do with Mercedes versus Lewis Hamilton. I say versus because, listen, this is really about Lewis Hamilton. You get a bit of George Russell in that situation there, and a bit of Toto Wolff as well, a little bit of that, and we'll get into that conversation. But a lot of this seems to be quite Lewis related. And just like the Alpine episode from previous episode 5, we have unfinished business in this episode, okay? Netflix, I think, are trying to, whether they're trying to long it out, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to do 10 episodes. How about that? Because some of us content creators have got to make 10 episodes, 10 reviews of Drive to Survive. Listen, of course, I don't have to, but I like to because I like to serve the people, okay? But we are talking about the episode where Lewis Hamilton, you see a very frustrated Lewis Hamilton. The character, the demeanor, the way Lewis carries himself. I've heard people say, people that have met Lewis have said that, he's very off. He's very standoffish. He's doesn't really want to know. Some people have called him rude when they've been in his presence. Now, look, I've never met the guy. I absolutely love and adore the guy because of what he's done in Formula One, because of what he's done in the sport. And he's somebody that, I relate to for, as you can imagine, obvious reasons, right? I like a bit of Lewis Hamilton, former McLaren driver as well. So if you're a McLaren driver at one point in time, you're always a McLaren driver. It's like the president of the United States, okay? But in the episode, we get this version of Lewis Hamilton where he does not want to be around. In terms of there was a promo, like a video shoot, I guess, for the Mercedes car, right? And for him, it was like, look, can we speed this up? You lot are talking a lot. Let's get on with it, kind of thing. It was very much a, I don't need to be here. And even he was questioning the people that were there. Timings, guys, timings. Lewis had to be up at 5 a.m. George gets up at 8 a.m. and he's asking questions. He's saying, hang on just a damn minute. What's going on over here? Okay. Why is this happening type of thing? So, that's the situation going on there with Lewis Hamilton. And it's a frustrated Lewis Hamilton. Why? Because of what's happened in the previous season, okay? 2022 was a horrible year for Mercedes, and it was a horrible year for Lewis Hamilton more particularly. The one race win that they got in 2022 came from George Russell, okay? And the year previous to that, of course, was the year 2021, the worst year probably of Lewis Hamilton's career, purely on the basis of a title that was snatched away from him, as he puts it. They've taken it away from him. So he's obviously... he came back the following season to be really aggressive and to feel, and to be like, what, I need to win the title this year. And when the car flopped bad, he was fuming. He was upset. He was not happy about this, right? And the contract of Lewis Hamilton is winding down. That's what's coming up here. So we have a contract situation where I think his contract ended in the year of 2023. So what was he going to do at the end of that season? And obviously you don't want to wait until 2024 to start negotiating or anything of that nature. But Lewis will have reasons to not want to sign for Mercedes. That's what seems to be going on in this episode. And it's crazy what's going on in real life regarding Lewis Hamilton and his contract situation, bizarrely, right? Again, it's almost like he's having to think about Mercedes a lot because he's thinking, what's keeping me going at this team here? Has the team done everything it can to win this championship? And what I get, the perception I get, the way that it was directed and the way he even speaks was that Mercedes have left a lot in the tank. We've not done the right decisions. We've not made the right decisions. We've not gone about this the right way. Even to the point where he even mentions the fact that, I said to the team, we've been doing this wrong. We need to change this, especially the rear of the car, the rear wing. It's like a barn door, he called it. And the engineers and the people that, making the car, they basically said, look, we know what we're doing, and so he was like, right, I'll take a step back. I don't want to tread on anyone's toes. A little bit of this, a little bit of that kind of thing. There was a bit of needle amongst the team. It's a short episode again, which makes me think that, of course, there's another episode of this to come because it finishes in a way where you're like, in real life, that's not the story. That's not how the story ends, right? So that we do end in a story, at the very end, we end with Hamilton eventually signing a new deal. But the way that the season, the season is going is terrible. In Monaco, they realize the reality that they're in. They are behind the Aston Martins. They're behind Esteban Ocon, who makes the podium. Hamilton's looking at the podium and he's like, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, what are they doing up there type of thing? We're Mercedes. We should be much further up the grid. We should be the ones challenging Red Bull. But for years, the car was not being made right. That's the way Hamilton portrays it, right? And it looks like there's a bit of conflict. They don't really get into the needle of it, but there's a bit of conflict between Hamilton and his team and the staff and the mechanics and everything else at Mercedes. So there's a bit of conflict with him and the team, and that's never really good, especially when your contract's up and the car's not performing well at all. Even at the start where they have the Bahrain Grand Prix, he sees Alonso and he looks at Alonso thinking, maybe it's time for me to take a risk. Alonso took a risk at a late stage in his career, and maybe in my late stage of my career, maybe I should take a risk and jump to a different team, try something new. We then move over to the Toto Wolff family side of things. It was good to see Susie Wolff, good to see Toto, and to see their child as well. They were taking their child what looked like to be like go-karting, kind of racing, almost racing, not practice, but like, going to races basically. And the dynamics, I love the dynamics of the family. The kid's very clever. He's a little bit of a, he's a bit witty. So fair play to him. I wonder if that comes from the Scottish side or even the Austrian side. Excuse me. I don't know, but he was very, very witty indeed. But the conversations, the kind of conversations about Formula One, and this is the thing, having somebody like Susie Wolff, let me get it out there, right? Susie Wolff, having her as a partner or as a wife, when you're somebody who's heavily involved in Formula One, it's, there's so much you can talk about. There's so much you can relate to, so much you can relate with. I've never really seen it with other previous, people with their partners or people with their, talking about, they don't really talk about Formula One in depth the way that they were talking about it. And Toto Wolff is like, talking about like, we need to make this car better. We need to do something. We need to get these championships again. We need to get back on top. And Susie's very much like, well, this is motorsport. It goes in cycles. You're not going to win every single time. And and Toto's not having it type of thing. He's like, well, no, we can break the cycles. Cycles don't have to just be sort of observed and obeyed. We can break these cycles. And I think it was very well put there by Toto Wolff, as well as Susie Wolff made a great point. Don't get me wrong. She gave the reality of life, right? As in Formula One. But Toto, Toto sort of having that conversation. It was fascinating. It was so fascinating to see them talk about the business. It's one of the things I love most is seeing people talking about the business. We get this clip of like Fred Vasseur getting involved now because all of a sudden here's some rumor talk about the Ferraris. Okay, all of a sudden the Ferrari talk pops up, and it's like, well, Buxton and people like that are saying, look, there's no smoke without fire. If there's a rumor, it's because it's come from somewhere. Somebody's spoken to that team. And by the way, if you haven't spoken to another team on the paddock, then you're not doing your job properly. That kind of thing. It was kind of off that kind of vibe. And Fred Vasseur's like, hey, listen, I'm not trying to, I'm here to worry about Ferrari. You could talk to Toto about Mercedes. I have nothing to say about that. They were making upgrades, though. Mercedes, we're getting back to the drawing board after what took place. And they were getting back to the drawing board to say, look, we need to have these upgrades work. We need to sort out this car and make sure that these upgrades work. Because if they don't work, then we're finished type of thing. So they made upgrades for the Barcelona Grand Prix, for the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. And you know what? It's a fantastic way to sort of bring the episode almost to a close. Hamilton, George Russell, absolutely doing better than the Aston Martins, finishing strong, finishing on the podium as well. You imagine Fernando Alonso doesn't finish on the podium at his home Grand Prix. Hamilton, meanwhile, I think he's finishing P2, lifting up the trophy there, P2, because he was like, this feels good. And it's like, he even forgot what it feels like to win a race. I mean, this is a 7-time world champion who's forgotten how to win a race because he hasn't won a race in so long, since Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 2021. That goes way back. That goes forever. So that's what's happening there. And after that, Lewis Hamilton pens a new deal. Toto Wolff is all living it large, talking all the big talk. Hamilton signs a 2-year deal, as it's all reported, up until 2025. And Toto Wolff was just like, look, me and Lewis go way back. We've got a great relationship. He's family. He's more than a driver to me, and he's more than a driver in Formula One. And I wonder if that kind of turned Lewis's head in terms of like, he made him realize, I am more than and Toto Wolff is somebody who sees Hamilton, if that makes sense. He really sees him. And I wonder if that's what kind of hooked Hamilton in, and the fact that they're going to work together to change the thing, because even the team who had previously argued with him about, what the car should look like, eventually I think have changed their mind a little bit, because everything that he said kind of came into fruition. And George Russell said the same sort of things as well. And George was sort of making the point, if Hamilton doesn't sign a new deal, it puts Mercedes in a difficult position, because it's almost like how can you not keep this kind of world champion in your team? But for Russell, he would want him gone so that at least he can be the leader of the team. He doesn't have such a hard teammate to compete against, because competing against Lewis Hamilton is an absolute joke. But Hamilton signs a new deal, and Toto Wolff says, you know what? Let's be honest. Like, he wouldn't even look great in a red suit. And I thought, oh my God, it's peak. It's looking peak. But that's how the episode ends. Definitely more to come. There's got to be more. Netflix have to provide. I don't really like to look ahead of the episodes because I don't really want to be spoiled as such. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. So I take every episode as it comes. I'm expecting to see some unfinished business in the other episodes to come. Let me know your thoughts on that episode, on the Drive to Survive season 6, episode 6, Leap of Faith, the Lewis Hamilton contract, Mercedes, Toto Wolff, Ferrari glimpses of that kind of Ferrari talk. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this episode. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? Let me know your thoughts on what you thought about this episode in general. Get your comments in the comment section. Smash a like on the video if you like Formula One content like this, if you like Drive to Survive, if you like Netflix content like this. Make sure you do smash a like on the video. Until episode 7, people, it's lights out. See you then.